Today, we're diving into a chilling personal story from one of our subscribers. It's all about a family's 3-year battle with something unseen in a small village in West Bengal, and it all started with a single defiant decision. Right from the get-go, this story promises something more. This isn't just about getting spooked. It's presented as a true cautionary tale. It's about what can happen when you dismiss ancient traditions and ignore warnings that are staring you right in the face. So, let's set the scene. The main events here take place between 1995 and 1997. That's 3 full years of escalating terror for this one family. We're going to walk through exactly how this nightmare began and how it all went so horribly wrong.
All right, so first things first, let's meet our main character, a man whose absolute refusal to believe in the supernatural pretty much kicked this whole thing off.
The story really kicks off with a man the source calls Deep Uncle. So after some kind of family squabble, he decides he's going to live separately. But instead of picking a spot in the village like a normal person, he does something really strange. He builds his house right in the middle of his paddy fields, totally isolated, a good 600 meters away from everyone else. And here's the most important thing you need to know about him. He was a staunch non-believer. He thought anything supernatural was just nonsense.
And, the layout of this place, it's almost like a recipe for disaster. You've got this isolated house, to the west an old pond, to the northeast a new one, and here's the kicker. The south gate faces a cremation ground just 800 meters away. Pay attention to this setup because it's going to become absolutely central to everything that happens next.
Okay, so the stage is set, and right on cue, the first big warning arrives. A warning that is heard loud and clear and then completely, deliberately ignored.
So during the groundbreaking ceremony, the priest they hired to bless the land gets this really worried look on his face. And he tells Deep Uncle this exact quote. He's not being vague here. He's basically saying, hey, something or someone uses this path. You're building your house right in its way.
So what do you think he does? Remember, he's a staunch non-believer. He just writes it off. He tells his wife it's just a trick, that the priest is just trying to swindle them for more money, for extra rituals, and he orders the construction to go on exactly as planned. This one moment of pure arrogance, it becomes the trigger. And just like that, they move in. And almost immediately, the house starts to fight back.
The first sign? It's something you just can't ignore. It's physical. Deep Uncle builds a brand new wall on that exact same western side the priest warned him about. But every single morning, they find it collapsed or with these huge cracks running through it. He rebuilds it, thinking it's a prank or something, but it just keeps falling down. It's like the land itself was literally rejecting the wall.
Then things get even weirder. After the harvest, Deep leans a couple of bundles of paddy against that problem wall. The next morning, he finds them smoldering. Not on fire, but glowing from the inside out. When his brother pokes them with a stick, poof, they just disintegrate into a pile of ash. Whatever this was, it was clearly targeting that one specific spot. So now it's not just strange events, it's an actual apparition. Deep Uncle is determined to figure out what's going on, so he starts sleeping by the window facing that western path. And in the dead of night, he sees her, an old woman in a soaking wet sari who reeks of fish, just silently walking down the path. He calls out to her, but she just ignores him and vanishes. He asks everyone in the village, nobody has a clue who she is. This woman becomes a recurring nightmare. So things have gone from weird to downright terrifying. But what comes next? It changes everything. This is where the haunting becomes an attack. The family is now under siege. And this is where the story takes an absolutely heartbreaking turn. One afternoon, Deep's oldest son goes for a swim in the pond, and he just never comes back. They find his body on the bank. No signs of struggle, no clear cause of death. He's just gone. The family is obviously devastated, but this is just the beginning of the next, even worse stage of their nightmare. Now, this next part is so important. See, before the son's death, a spiritual practitioner, a tantric, had given the family these protective threads to wear. But because of religious customs during the 13-day mourning period, they're not allowed to wear any items like that. So they had to take off their only spiritual armor right when they were at their absolute most vulnerable. And bam! Just 2 days after the son's death, with those protective threads gone, it strikes again. This time, it goes for the daughter. In the middle of the night, she walks right over to that same west window. When the family finds her,
Her body is literally twisted completely upside down, with her head touching the floor, just staring out at that path. And then it speaks through her. In a voice that is absolutely not her own, she starts screaming this over and over and over. I'll take her with me. The entity isn't just haunting them anymore. It's telling them flat out it's going to take another child. The horror just keeps escalating. She breaks free from her family, runs to a storeroom, and starts, get this, devouring raw fish from a basket that was there for the morning ritual. The eating of raw fish, that's a terrifying link. The same fishy smell from the old woman on the path. It's a horrifying confirmation. That same entity is now inside his daughter. So at this point, they're desperate. They've tried everything, and nothing has worked. But they have one last hope. And this brings us to the final chapter, figuring out what this thing actually is and how to finally fight it. The family finally gets in touch with a powerful spiritual healer, a Drudi Mata, and she finally gives this thing a name and a reason. She says it's a jockey or a jalchar, a type of water spirit from local folklore. And this is when it all clicks into place. The creature had a daily commute, It traveled the same path every single day from the old pond to the cremation ground. And Deep Uncle, in his arrogance, had built his house right in the middle of its highway.
So what does she do? She performs this really intense, powerful ritual to basically put up a permanent no trespassing sign. First, she throws a red cloth into the pond, and the story goes that the pond starts to bubble and you can hear screaming. Then, 4 black roosters are sacrificed, their blood is collected, and it's used to consecrate 4 iron nails. Finally, those 4 nails are buried in the 4 corners of the property, creating a powerful protective seal around the house.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway? Remember that life lesson we talked about at the very beginning? Well, this whole ordeal completely transforms Deep Uncle. This guy goes from a total non-believer who literally laughed at priests to a man of deep faith who regularly performs rituals. The arrogant, defiant man was completely humbled by what he went through. His entire worldview was shattered and then rebuilt from the ground up. And that's what this story leaves us with, right? This absolutely haunting question. The story suggests that this entire 3-year nightmare, the death of a child, the possession, the terror, it all came from one man's arrogant refusal to just listen, his dismissal of an ancient warning as simple superstition. It makes you think, could a single mistake, just one act of pure arrogance, really unleash that much destruction on a family? It's a pretty chilling thought to sit with,